Hi, Islamic Dad here. If you enjoy this channel, please subscribe. It does help me out. Tonight I am doing a video revisiting the devalue phase and also talking about the differences between supply and the replacement, aka other person. So, first off, I'm one of those people that never deletes any of my email, never deletes any of my texts, or messages. So it's very easy for me to go back months, years, even longer, and kind of, revisit stuff. And I was doing that, recently, where I was looking at some emails that I had sent to myself as part of a journaling exercise back with my previous relationship with my last narcissist. And one of the things that I realized after, connecting the dots was just how early on in the devalue phase that things started going off the rails. And so I, thought it was very interesting to me because, I wanted to make this video to make a distinction between like the fact that that stuff's happening versus the actual emotional discard and what that means. And so, with the narcissist, I would honestly say that during the love bombing phase, they are most likely monogamous, both in mind and body, because they think you're perfect and they think you are the, surrogate parent that they've been looking for their entire life, that will fill that void in them and make them finally feel whole and give them the unconditional love that they've been looking for. Once, that phase ends, and then, that's another video, and the devalue phase starts, their attitude changes. And one of the things that changes is they realize that you cannot be 100% of their supply. And so they will start looking for supply elsewhere, starting at the beginning of the devalue phase. And as time goes on through the devalue phase, they will require, need, want more and more supply from more and more sources. And so, again, all narcissists are the same. All narcissists are different. In my last relationship with the covert narcissist, I obviously don't know everything, but, my best guess based upon what was indicated was that she was not necessarily having any physical affairs during the, long devalue phase, but certainly, emotional affairs with what would be termed supplies or supply. And so one of the things that was happening during the devalue phase was she was still in the relationship with me, and so I was still, to a large degree, the favorite person. I was her person. I was her partner. And then these other people outside of that relationship that she was, chatting incessantly behind my back with, were there for supply. And I just want to make that clear, because that's a big distinction versus what happens towards the very, very end and with the emotional discard. And so in the middle of the devalue phase, the narcissist is still, okay, this is my person. And, for me, I would say most of the time, things went well. It wasn't, it was definitely a roller coaster, but it wasn't always bad. And the majority of the time, it was pretty good. And so, and I think that that was a good indicator also of where the narcissist was too, where, I was still in their eyes, giving them the majority of supply that they needed, but that they definitely needed to, go out behind my back to get additional supply from, different people. As time went on, though, things changed, and from the narcissist perspective, you would say like the amount of supply that they could get from me, or the quality of the supply that they could get from me, decreased and decreased and decreased, until it reaches a point where the narcissist really starts actively looking not simply for additional supply, but for your replacement, or what I've termed in previous videos, the other person. And so in that phase, let's call it like the second half of the devalue phase, the narcissist will be in the relationship with their favorite person. They'll have their multiple people that they use for supply, and then they'll start cultivating the other person. And this might be their best friend from work, their house husband, their work husband, their work wife, or their friend that they met who they just happen to have a lot in common with, etc. And they start putting more energy into cultivating this other person. And as time goes on in the devalue phase, it'll reach a point where at the emotional discard, the narcissist makes a switch. At that point, the narcissist is, makes a decision, says, okay, this other person that's outside the relationship, I am now promoting them to favorite person, and I'm going to give them the majority of my attention, the majority of my time, the majority of my energy, my effort. Everything is going to go into my, this favorite person that's outside my current relationship. Simultaneously, they've taken, the current partner, and demoted you. And so like, okay, you used to be my favorite person. Now you're kind of just in the way. I mean, you're not even the other person at that point. You're just in the way. And one of the key things that happens at that point with the emotional discard is that if you thought you were being treated badly through the devalue phase, you haven't seen anything yet. When the narcissist flips that switch and does the emotional discard, they will treat you worse than garbage. I mean, they want nothing to do with you. They will, cancel, appointments, dates, movies, everything with you. They don't want to be touched. They don't, they will not touch you. They will not say, I love you. They will just withdraw to a degree you did not even think possible. And this is what makes it so difficult. But they will not leave the relationship. They will withdraw all the love, all the affection, all the physical touch, all the communication. But they will not leave the relationship. They will not say, okay, I'm done. I think, we need to end the relationship. Or, hey, let's have a talk. I don't think this is working out. They won't. They will just, basically pull away and pull away and pull away. And we all know why. Because they're waiting for you to say, hey, this isn't working out for me. I'm leaving the relationship. And at that point, they can play the victim. They can paint you to be the villain, etc., etc. But getting back to the devalue phase, I previously was under the impression that the gathering up of multiple resources for supply, for spreading the seeds of the smear campaign, all this type of stuff happened pretty close to the emotional discard. And after reading my emails, I realized that wasn't the case at all, and that it wasn't, this steep drop off like I thought it was. It was a very long, prolonged descent. And that even, for me, even a year, maybe a year and a half, that she was already, getting, getting additional supply, doing all that stuff, behind my back, but also kind of what I would call doing test runs of these, what I would call fabricated arguments, or fabricated, blow-ups, where something incredibly small would happen. Like maybe I normally unload the dishwasher at 7, I was busy with work, I got distracted, and I didn't do it. So at that point, my partner would say, "Oh my gosh, I want you to do one thing and you don't do it. All I want is for you to unload the dishes at 7. And I can't believe you're doing this. You're doing this because you don't love me. You're doing this because you don't want the relationship to work. We could never live together. This is never going to work. I can't believe I'm so stupid." And they're slamming stuff, and they're turning red in the face, and their arms are waving around. And the thing is, you're like, I can unload the dishes right now if you want. I mean, it's just, and I'm just using it as an example. It's just the smallest things would explode into these insane 3 or 4 hour fights where we were that close to breaking up. And it would be like, okay, we're that close to breaking up because I didn't unload the dishwasher at 7? I mean, that's insane. And so we would, experience something like that and, work things out through the argument and then be back together. And then it would be smooth sailing for months and months. But my point is that I didn't realize that these like mini blow-ups that were basically kind of a test run for what was going to come later were happening like at the midpoint of the devalue phase. I honestly had no idea. So again, I just wanted to make this video to clarify that like stuff like, going out, finding multiple sources for supply, starting to, let's say, vet people or keep eye out for if anyone would be a good other person, and also kind of, testing these blow-ups and stuff. I mean, basically going through like the initial testing of all the things that they're going to put into place and really use at the end of the relationship. So by the time that the emotional discard happens, all the seeds have been planted for the smear campaign. They've been planted, the soil is there, it's been watered, it's been, there's good fertilizer, and it's just starting to sprout up. I mean, the groundwork is there. Also, by the emotional discard, the narcissist knows exactly which buttons to push. They know what to say and how to react when they want to get the maximum reaction from you, so that they have an excuse to go, I don't know, running out of the room, or, throw their arms up in the air and say, "Well, there we are, there we are, there we are." Because they're literally, before that, they're literally doing homework. I mean, they're literally studying you to get these things down through the devalue phase. And the thing is, they're not studying for a week, they're not studying for a month, they're probably studying for years to get all of that stuff down like a science. So, hopefully this video's been helpful.